A young girl named Lina grows up in a remote village, dreaming of becoming a wildlife scientist to protect endangered animals. She faces countless challenges in the big city: poverty, disbelief from others, and prejudice. Lina takes on multiple jobs to survive while studying science and technology at night. After years of perseverance, she invents a method that helps preserve the wildlife in her village and returns home not just as a successful scientist, but as a symbol of courage, knowledge, and positive change for her community. Lina's world was painted in the vibrant hues of the ancient forest that cradled her village. From her earliest memories, the rustling leaves were her symphony, and the calls of unseen creatures were the whispers of old friends. She was a child of the wilderness, her heart beating in rhythm with the great, green expanse that stretched as far as her young eyes could see. While other children played games of make-believe in the village square, Lina would venture to the forest's edge, a tattered book of local fauna in hand, her imagination soaring not with tales of princesses and knights, but with the intricate lives of the pangolins, the elusive clouded leopards, and the vibrant hornbills that shared her home. She saw the forest not just as a collection of trees and plants, but as a bustling metropolis of life, a delicate and interconnected web where every creature, no matter how small, played a vital role. This deep, instinctual connection fueled a singular, powerful dream: to become a scientist, a guardian who could understand the secret language of the wild and shield its inhabitants from the encroaching shadows of the modern world. The dream, however, was a fragile seed planted in rocky soil. Her village, isolated and bound by tradition, saw her ambition as a peculiar fantasy. "The forest provides for us, and we take what we need," the elders would say, their voices kind but firm. Why trouble yourself with books when the real lessons are in the hunt and the harvest? They could not comprehend her urgency, the quiet fear that knotted in her stomach whenever she saw the thinning tree line or heard the distant, unfamiliar roar of machinery. The world outside was expanding, its concrete fingers reaching ever closer, and she knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that the animals she so adored were living on borrowed time. The dream of protecting them was not a whimsical desire. It was a profound responsibility, a calling that echoed in her soul. It was this calling that gave her the courage to make a heart-wrenching decision, to leave the only home she had ever known and seek the knowledge she needed in the sprawling, indifferent maze of the big city. With a small bag containing a change of clothes, her precious wildlife book, and a heart heavy with both hope and sorrow, she stepped onto a dusty bus, watching her verdant world shrink into a speck in the rearview mirror. The city was a brutal awakening, a cacophony of steel, glass, and relentless noise that assaulted her senses. The familiar scent of damp earth and wild blossoms was replaced by the acrid smell of exhaust fumes and hot asphalt. Here, survival was a daily, grinding battle. The vibrant tapestry of the forest was gone, replaced by a monochrome landscape of towering buildings that blocked out the sun and a sea of anonymous faces that rushed past without a glance. Poverty was a constant, gnawing companion. She found a tiny, windowless room in a crowded tenement, its thin walls offering little solace from the city's unceasing clamor. Her meager savings evaporated almost instantly, forcing her into a grueling cycle of menial labor. By day, she washed dishes in the steamy kitchens of bustling restaurants, her hands raw and aching. She cleaned floors in sterile office buildings late into the night, the repetitive motion a stark contrast to the dynamic life of the forest she missed so dearly. But the physical hardship was only one part of her struggle. A far deeper wound was inflicted by the pervasive disbelief and prejudice she encountered. When she spoke of her dream, of her desire to study biology and technology, she was met with condescending smiles and dismissive remarks. "A girl from a village, you should be practical," a potential employer told her, his gaze sweeping over her simple, handmade clothes with unconcealed disdain. "Science is for city people, for the educated. This sentiment was a recurring theme, a chorus of doubt that threatened to extinguish her inner fire. She was an outsider, marked by her accent, her unfamiliarity with urban customs, and her unwavering, seemingly naive passion for a world that these city dwellers had long forgotten or never known. Each rejection, each skeptical glance, was a small cut, but Lina refused to let herself bleed out. The memories of the forest, of the vibrant life she had sworn to protect, became her armor. The city could challenge her, it could starve her, and it could try to break her spirit, but it could not take away her purpose. Fueled by a resolve that defied her circumstances, Lina carved out a second life for herself in the quiet hours of the night. After long, exhausting shifts that left her body aching, she would return to her small room, not to collapse into a much-needed sleep, but to open her books. The flickering light of a single, dim bulb illuminated worn pages of biology, ecology, and computer science textbooks she bought second-hand with her painstakingly saved coins. The city's library became her sanctuary, a haven of silence and infinite knowledge where she could momentarily escape her harsh reality. She devoured information with a ferocity born of desperation and hope, her mind a sponge soaking up complex theories and intricate formulas. She taught herself to code, her fingers flying across the keyboard of a cheap, refurbished laptop, piecing together lines of logic that she hoped would one day translate into real-world solutions. Her nights were a solitary pilgrimage of learning, a testament to her unyielding spirit. While the city slept, Lina was wide awake, her mind alight with scientific principles and technological possibilities, slowly and painstakingly forging the tools she would need to fulfill her promise to the forest. It was a lonely, arduous path, but with every page she turned and every line of code she wrote, she was building a bridge back home. Years melted into a relentless cycle of work and study, each day a small victory against the overwhelming odds. Then, one rain-swept evening, hunched over her laptop in the quiet hum of the library, the disparate threads of her knowledge began to weave together. An idea sparked, a revolutionary concept that combined advanced bioacoustic monitoring with predictive AI algorithms and non-invasive drone technology. It was a method to track elusive and endangered species, to understand their migratory patterns, and to identify threats from poaching or habitat loss in real time, all without disturbing their natural behaviors. The theory was audacious, a synthesis of everything she had learned. With trembling hands, she began to build the prototype using salvaged parts and open-source software. She poured every last ounce of her energy and savings into the project, fueled by an adrenaline rush of pure creation. After countless sleepless nights, debugging code and refining sensor arrays, it was complete. Her invention was not just a piece of technology. It was the culmination of her entire journey, a tangible manifestation of her unwavering love for the wild. The day Lina returned to her village, the prodigal daughter had become a pioneer. She was no longer just the curious girl who chased butterflies. She was a scientist, confident and articulate, her eyes holding the wisdom of her struggles and the brilliance of her triumph. She gathered the village elders and, with a calm authority they had never seen in her before, she unveiled her creation. Using a portable projector, she displayed real-time data on the screen, the heat signature of a nesting hornbill, the audio footprint of a gibbon family's morning call, the subtle movements of a pangolin foraging in the deep undergrowth. She demonstrated how her system could alert them to the presence of illegal logging operations or poachers' traps long before they could inflict any harm. The villagers, who had once dismissed her dreams as fanciful, watched in stunned silence, their skepticism melting away into awe and respect. They saw not just a clever machine, but a powerful shield for the forest that was their heritage. In her return, Lina brought more than just an invention. She brought a new way of seeing. She established a community-led conservation program, training the younger generation to operate the drones and interpret the data. The knowledge she had fought so hard to acquire in the city was no longer hers alone. It became a shared resource, empowering her entire community to become active guardians of their environment. The children who once saw the forest merely as a playground now looked at it with the eyes of budding scientists, their curiosity ignited by Lina's example. She had left as a girl with a dream and returned as a leader who had made that dream a reality. Lina became a living bridge between tradition and innovation, proving that a deep love for one's home, when combined with courage and knowledge, could forge a brighter, more sustainable future. She returned home not just as a successful scientist, but as a symbol of courage, knowledge, and positive change for her community.